And we're back. Post-game show, CONCACAF Champions League. Atlanta United wins the night 1-0, loses 3-1 on aggregate to Club America. Mike Conti, Jason Longshore. Want to hear your thoughts. We have an opportunity to take your comments, your questions tonight, so you can tweet at us at MikeConti929, at Longshoe, at Soccer Down Here. If you hear this tomorrow as a podcast edition, you can still send us questions and we'll talk about it. Because Atlanta United's season is now 100% completely officially over for 2020. But it ended on a really good note, and I feel better about things after that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, short of pulling off the shock advancement, and maybe it could have happened. I don't know. The way things went tonight, maybe it could have happened. But aside from pulling off that shocker, this was the best case scenario to come out of tonight. You played well. You were entertaining. You fought. It got chippy. You responded to the chippiness. But, yeah, played Club America, and you got the result on top of it. You got the win when it looked like maybe you would settle for a scoreless draw. You got the kids in. That's great. Does Jackson Conway rise to the moment? Awesome to see that. I mean, literally, we could go down the list of best-case scenarios that were achieved tonight for Atlanta United. And it really does now, I think, change the mindset and the complexion, at least for me personally, going into the next 6+ weeks before the 2021 training camp gets started. If Gabriel Heinze is indeed going to be the next manager of Atlanta United, and if he was watching this match tonight, I'm sure he was nodding along approvingly. And I think he saw a team that's going to want to play very much in his style. A team that's not going to back down to any challenge, to anyone. A team that's going to fight for 90 minutes, but a team that's also going to play very positive soccer. I think I could count on one hand, Jason, the number of back passes I saw all night. And by the way, that's not the only indictment of negative soccer or the only indication of positive soccer.
I was about to
really,
say.
really good to see. It's really good to see. You had 7 shots on target tonight, season high, all competitions. Passed at 89%, season high, all competitions. The work rate by some players in particular, I mean, Franco Escobar, I thought just had an unbelievable match tonight.
Yeah.
Some of those 80-yard recovery runs. We got what we hoped we would see, and I think what we expected to see, that some players would treat this as a little bit of an audition for 2021, and I think they won the part tonight. So very, very encouraging. Yeah, I mean, you'd like to win a continental championship. The odds were so against you coming into tonight that I don't think anyone could have realistically thought they would have scored 3 or 4 goals and gone through tonight. So this is the next best scenario. No one appeared to get seriously hurt. Barco, I guess, took a little knock, but he tried playing afterwards, so I'm not all that concerned about that. All in all, this was a good night for Atlanta United, and now they get to go home, rest, reset, and get ready for 2021.
Who do you think was the highest-rated player on a sofa score for tonight?
You know, I tried pulling that up on Who Scored, and they don't have it yet. So I tried to cheat on this.
Yeah, Who Scored? It's weird. Sofa Score has more stuff than Who Scored. I've kind of shifted over there, but they didn't have Eric Lopez and Jackson Conway in their system.
Oh, well, so I guess Lopez and Conway weren't the highest.
They were not.
Lopez could have been. I thought Lopez played pretty well.
He was good. Ran out of gas second half.
Yeah, he did. He lost his legs. This it feels like you're asking me a trick question because
really.
my instinct is to say Escobar.
He's second.
Okay. Moreno, did he play long enough to be rated?
Yeah, he was rated, but he lost a lot because of the red.
Yeah. We will get into that.
We'll get into that.
We will get into that. Boy.
George Bello.
Yeah, Bello really only got beat one time the whole night. And it was kind of a fluky play in a corner where I think he was trying to let the ball play out for goal kick, and he got beat. That was his only error of the night. And he did have the assist. I mean, it was Moreno's ball into Bello the near assist, on the Kubo sequence.
Yep.
It was Moreno's ball into Bello that really started all of it, but Bello put it right on the plate for Kubo. And I think he had another good cross after that, too. So, yeah, I have no argument with that. And again, this is what's encouraging is, Bello, 19 years old. Conway, 19 years old. You saw young players rise to the occasion against one of the biggest clubs on this continent and play extremely well. Very, very good to see.
Young players that were part of your academy day one. Right. And this is why all the work that Tony Annan, his coaching staffs, first Scott Donnelly with Atlanta United 2, and then Stephen Glass, and then Tony taking over when Stephen moved up to the first team. All that work led to that goal tonight, Bello to Conway. Outside of the assist, Bello had 2 tackles. He had an interception. 45 of 48 passing, created 2 chances. They didn't say he was beat on that one dribble. I think it was he was kind of letting it roll rather than got beat. Very, very, very strong and grew into the game, I thought. Bello showed a lot of maturity tonight. And Bello and Conway both are 2 players who absolutely could be part of the US U20 World Cup team next year. They both have that ability.
Yeah, and the really cool thing is they played together for a while. They've known each other for a while. And now fast forward 4 or 5 years, and they're creating a goal against Club America.
That's why the academy is so important because, Bello doesn't have to think about where Jackson's going to be. He's not looking up and trying to figure out where John is or where Kubo Torres is. He knows where Jackson Conway is. And he just throws it up there and lets the big guy go get it.
Yeah. Yeah, now I think one of the questions that will probably be asked in the postmortem, and the FS2 analyst had brought this up, did Glassy wait too long to sub him on? I really don't know what the right answer is to that. We talked about this on the pre-match show. Glassy has a tendency, and I agree with this, by the way, to not make subs when he feels like his team is in control. Atlanta United dominated the first half. There's no doubt coming out of halftime, Atlanta United's in control of the match. In the back of all of our heads, we know every second that ticks off, when you have to score 3 goals, your chances get narrower and narrower. I also think the plan may have been disrupted slightly by Barco taking whatever knock he took.
We actually have a little bit on that. Glass spoke about it in post-game media availability, and he said it was related to that challenge in the first half that could have been a penalty. It would have been a soft one because the challenge was kind of after the shot where he came in underneath him, but it could have been called a penalty.
It could have been, and here's my problem. You remember that referee from last year, Jason? You remember the last time we saw him?
No.
That was the referee in the first leg at Monterey. And he called a very, very soft penalty against Leandro Gonzalez-Perez
in
the first half of that match.
He did.
That's my problem with the referee tonight. And
can I say one thing before we jump? Because I know we're going to get into it. Outside of the last moment, the red to Moreno and the tackle before that getting a yellow, I actually thought he did a pretty good job. The penalty on the Barco situation, it would have been soft because it didn't affect the actual shot. We've seen it given, we've seen it not given. He was consistent. He let a lot go.
Well, yeah.
Which I'm okay with, but it did lead to what I know you're frustrated with.
Well, I thought he was mostly consistent. I thought he was calling everything in the first 10 minutes. And then the line moved.
That happens sometimes in like Champions League and international competition. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example in the first half. If Remedi had committed that challenge in a league match, he may have been sent off. So I thought the referee used good judgment considering the circumstance.
Yep.
It's a Champions League match. He didn't send Remedi off. And I also want to be very clear. Referee did not dictate the outcome of this match.
No.
At all. I'm not trying to suggest that. I have a real problem, though, with the Nevada horror tackle on Moreno. Yeah. And by the way, Moreno, not cool. He should have been sent off for that.
I understand it. I don't like it.
But it's a red.
Yeah, totally a red.
It's a send-off.
Totally a red. Totally red. I have no question, no problem with the red, no problem at all. I don't really get too hard on the guy because of the tackle that led to it.
Yeah.
It's. I'd rather see other people get in there and stick up for him, so he doesn't feel like he's got to kick out and that sort of thing. But when you get hit multiple times, I mean, Moreno wasn't on that long, and he was getting whacked a bunch. And that one, I mean, that's a kind of tackle that can hurt you. That's a kind of tackle that can put you out for a long period of time. And he just, the eyes went red, and he flashed out and he kicked out, and you don't want that, but I totally understand it.
Yeah, it should have been red.
Yeah, easily.
It did not affect the outcome. No. In fact, Atlanta United very nearly got a second goal after that, right at the death. So, no, it didn't affect the outcome. I didn't like the way it was handled by the referee. I thought the line moved a little bit in the first half. I thought he was calling it way too tight initially. I think the Remedi challenge kind of actually got him to swallow his whistle. Bizarrely, I do think he played advantage a couple times correctly. Like he did okay. Barco trying to draw the second penalty, I thought was very, very weak by Barco. But then there were two clear fouls right after that he did not call either.
Yep.
So I almost felt like he was too tight, then let too much go. But again, not affecting the outcome. I just really hated that tackle by Nevada. I thought that was
totally
very nasty. And there is, by the way, a CONCACAF champion. I know this sounds hard to believe. There is a CONCACAF Champions League disciplinary committee.
Yep.
And they ought to review that for either their match against Cruz Azul or LAFC this weekend. That's got to be looked at. Nevada's got to miss a game. Okay, Moreno's going to be suspended for the first leg against whoever in 2021. Nevada has got to be suspended for a match. That was a clear red card challenge, in my opinion. Did not affect the outcome, but enough to make me very angry.
I agree with El Mataflo. With VAR, that's a red.
Absolutely.
And I agree with Bernd Dursberger. That's a red in MLS. That's a red in the Premier League. That's a red in the Bundesliga. That's a red anywhere.
It's a red anywhere on the field at any time of the match.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing that may have unfortunately come into play is I think sometimes referees are hesitant. And we saw this with Yamil Assad against Brooks Lennon back in September. I do think referees hesitate a little bit to throw reds at the end of matches for the very scenario that we're talking about. They don't want a challenge at the end to cost someone a match down the road.
Yep.
It shouldn't matter. It should not matter.
No.
I just, again, if you're going to give Leandro the penalty last year in Monterey, I thought there was...
If I had known it was that guy, I would have been more fired up about that decision.
There was more in the first Barco entanglement in the first half tonight than there was in that Leandro challenge in the first half at Monterey last year.
I totally agree. Because it's really dangerous the way he came in. I mean, he's late. Barco gets the shot off, but Barco can't come down because the guy's underneath him and knocks him into another player. Like it's
serious foul play.
Yeah.
It's serious foul play, and it's in the area.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous, and you could have given a penalty there. I'm okay with him not. The one thing I'll say about the way he kind of managed the game, I see this happen a good bit in maybe more Latin America, where referees will come in and call it tight early and then loosen up. That's a pretty typical way that referees will try to assert authority. Is no, I'm going to call it really tight early on, and you're going to have to back down a little bit, and then you let the game play. So that didn't really jar me too much. The penalty, I mean, it would have been soft, but we've seen that given. The red card's the biggest issue he had. I mean, that's got to be a straight red for the tackle on Moreno, and then you give a red to Moreno for the reaction, and you're good.
Yep, agreed. But it didn't affect the outcome.
No, it didn't.
The thing that affected the outcome tonight was Atlanta United being the better side for 90 minutes.
They were.
Some people are going to say match state. Some people are going to say
true.
Being down 3-0. And that is absolutely part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely part of it. But Jason, I've argued with some people on Twitter.
Uh-uh.
But I really believe this. 3 of the 4 halves of this tie, Atlanta United was the better team. Now, again, Matt State is part of that because you were down 3-0 at halftime of the first match.
Yep.
But I don't know how anyone could watch objectively and think anything other than Atlanta United outplayed America in the second half of the Azteca and were clearly dominant in the first half tonight. I actually thought prior to the Conway goal that the second half may have been a little bit of a stalemate, even though prior to the Conway goal, Atlanta United still had the best chance of either team in the second half. And Kubo, by the way, has got to put that away. Ochoa made a good save. I mean, I don't want to discount Ochoa making 6 saves on Atlanta United tonight. I mean, he's a great goalkeeper. He's a legend in Mexico. Kubo's got to put that home. That, unfortunately, has been kind of the story of the year for the team and for Kubo. Just can't buy a goal. It happens. Puts that in, and then Conway gets his header, and then you have that set piece at the end, and boy, things get really, really tense down there. Mm-hmm. But I think, again, objectively, Atlanta United in 3 of the 4 halves of this tie was the better team. Is it a moral victory? Yeah.
I don't think you like this.
I don't, but I'm making a statement of fact. I mean, you disagree with me.
No, I'm with you.
I'm really dug in on this on Twitter. I'm fighting with people right now.
Uh-oh.
So if I should back off, tell me.
No. You were better.
It's part of it, but you were better. And it reminds me a lot of the Monterey tie last year, where, I mean, second half of the second leg, you were clearly better.
Yep.
Second half of the first leg, you were clearly outplayed. Maybe the first half in both was a stalemate. But I think on the whole, Atlanta United's going to point to this tie and say, we did a lot of really good things against a good club. One of the biggest clubs on this continent.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you guys have questions out there, you can tweet them at us, Mike Conti 929, Longshoe, Soccer Down here on Twitter. You can also throw them into the Twitch pitch. You can watch on twitch.tv/Soccer Down here. We will get into Tiki Taka's question first when we jump there. But the one thing I'll say about the match state and all that, Atlanta was the better team for the last, quick math, 135 minutes. The problem was the first 45 cost you the series. And it was different than the Monterey was. In Monterey, maybe it was the second 45 that cost you the series. But you've got to start better in these against the top teams, and that's just going to be the difference you're looking for, under a new manager, is you're going to be looking for a more aggressive stance early on. I thought tonight you saw some of that fight, you saw some of that aggressiveness, you saw a team that was up for the fight and out of anything, even if the quality wasn't there throughout, and there were times it got a little shaky, there were times it was disjointed, but somebody came in kicking Atlanta players started kicking them. You saw reactions to things. I think the Remedi tackle that was pretty nasty was because Barco had been whacked a couple of times right before that. So Remedi goes flying into somebody. I'm good with that. Team showed a lot of heart tonight because the way this went, they could have said, you know what, we don't want to be here. Our season was over. It wasn't a good one. We'd rather be on vacation right now. But they came back and they put in the work, and you could tell by the way they played. They put in the work on the training pitch. It showed tonight. And it might be, it probably will be, the last time we talk about Kubo Torres in an Atlanta United kit. And he didn't produce, and I hate it for him because he got into good spots and he had opportunities. He just could not score goals for this team. But I give him so much credit for even being there tonight because he didn't have to be. He could have been on a beach, sipping on a nice drink, and not come back and be working for a team that didn't pick up his contract. And you got to give him a ton of credit for that. And he showed a lot with his character. I hope he lands on his feet in a good spot. He deserves that for what he did for this club. Okay, let's get into the questions. Tiki Taka, Eric Lopez looked good. Not a question, a statement. I would agree with it. What you think?
Yeah, especially in the first half. I think he ran out of gas.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Right off the kickoff, I'm like, wait a minute. Is Lopez playing the 10? And then it became a little more clear that he was going to be a second forward. I saw it
fluid.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was real fluid.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Fluid's a good word. I liked him. It's very obvious that he's got room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think there was, this is really, really early in the match, and I don't know if I'm making too much of this. I think the cross was intended for John, and Lopez was not really near it and took a swing at it, which I thought was weird. And I maybe I'm making way too much of that. Mm-hmm. But maybe a sign that just the chemistry and the comfort was not quite there, or maybe he was just a little bit too psyched up for the moment. But I thought he settled into the match, especially as the first half wound on. I'm eager to see more.
Yeah.
I'm really, really eager to see more. I think that was the takeaway I had from the Red Bulls match with Marcelino Moreno. And that was a totally different situation where Moreno was just into the club, not really fully match fit yet. You were left wanting to see more. Yeah. And I'm very optimistic about Eric Lopez based on what I saw tonight. And I'll go back to what I said during the pre-match show. It's really enticing to think about Atlanta United with Lopez bombing down the left and Jurgen Damm bombing down the right. That is really, really enticing because now you can have good service from both sides. And I'd like to see Lopez hit a few more crosses. I mean, just to know what that looks like, to know if that's in his tool belt or not. But just the speed that you're going to have attacking down the channels, down the flanks, it's going to be a root canal for MLS defenses to deal with that in 2021.
I'll go a step further. I think Lopez gives you something that you've never really had, somebody who can play in that spot, which, I mean, you can call it a number 10, you can call it a central attacking midfielder, you can call it a second striker, you can call it whatever you want. Positions and names, if and this is still an if Gabriel Heinze is the manager coming in, and I think we all have a pretty good assumption that's the case, but it hasn't been done yet. If he's the guy, or somebody like him is the guy, please, I beg of all of you, do not get hung up on position names or places on the field. It is about roles, responsibilities, and rotations. It's going to be the 3 R's, I guess. It's very important to understand that because Lopez, in that role, has a different set of responsibilities than Barco would in that role, or than Moreno would in that role. He needs to play higher up, but that also means Barco's got to come inside a little bit more to fill that gap, and he did. And what that does is that opens up the space for George Bello down the left, and he's got to take that. So, think of Barco tonight a little bit like we've seen Carlos Heel for England, who plays on the wing, but is often inside. Jake Mulroney played off of all of that really well because he was drifting everywhere too to find space. I thought Mulroney had a nice night too. So that fluidity is going to be critical in the attack. Now, what we didn't see as much of tonight that we will in the future, I would think, again, if it's Gabriel Heinze, will be the pressing when you lose possession up high. And that's where I want to see Lopez. I want to see Barco. I want to see how that looks. Because if it's done correctly, the fluidity creates a little bit of chaos on both sides of the ball because players immediately press the ball and immediately press the player closest to them. So, again, position, shape doesn't matter when the ball turns over. It is who's in my zone, I've got them. And you've got to have your head on a swivel to pick all that up. And then you've got to be able to play wherever you are. The whole thing is about the game will take you into different positions. Lopez is a guy who can play as a forward, can play behind the forward, can play on either flank. That's exactly what you need in that kind of role because wherever the game takes him, he's comfortable and he can go find it. I thought he looked really good. 45 was about his limit of looking good tonight. Second half, I think just cooling down, trying to warm back up, getting back into the flow, he struggled a little bit, and that's okay. He's his 17th professional game with the club, his first game since February. It's all good. I thought it was a good night for Eric Lopez. Strummer John wants to know about Emerson Hyndman. What do you think about him tonight?
Not his best night.
I struggled. Just average.
Yeah, yes.
Not bad, just average.
Yeah, I don't...
Trying to see what would have been bad. He got dribbled past a few times defensively, which is always an issue for him.
He had one giveaway, I remember. I don't have Opta up on my screen.
I got it.
You might have to help. I would like to know passing accuracy and times dispossessed.
Possession lost 11.
Yeah.
Let me see where that ranks on the team, and I'll tell you. Where do they put that over here? So possession lost. He was third. Escobar lost at 13. Remedi 12. Escobar's risking more where he's at, so that's fine. You don't really get hung up on that. Remedi and Heineman 12 and 11, where they play, is a little concerning.
Yeah. Although you come to expect it more from Remedi than Heineman.
Yeah. Passing percentage was good. He was 61 to 66, 92%.
Okay. Yeah, and look, I don't think he was a liability. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was a liability, but I don't think he gave Atlanta United a whole lot tonight. I had tweeted at halftime I would have taken him off.
Yeah.
For Moreno. And maybe that would have been the plan if not for Barco's injury. I'm not sure. The other thing you could have done was put Josetu in earlier for Heineman if you didn't think that Moreno would give you 45. I would have subbed him off at halftime. Flat out. It did not cost Atlanta United a chance to advance. Atlanta United was the better side tonight. Heineman did not do anything to negatively affect that. Just not his best night. We've seen him play better. We saw him play much better in 2019. I don't think 2020 was an excellent year for Emerson Heineman, but again, everything kind of changed after Joseph Martinez's injury, and roles became different. And what Heineman had to do in 2020 was not exactly the same of what he had to do in 2019. I think the other thing, too, with Emerson is he was put under the microscope more by everyone in 2020 because, the club made a decision to invest in him when they let some other very popular players walk. That's not Emerson's fault, by the way, at all. But I think it put a spotlight on him. 2020 was, I think he would even tell you, not the kind of year that he wanted to have. He also had COVID.
That's
and
what I was going to say.
That has been completely forgotten. He was a non-symptomatic COVID case, but we still don't exactly know the long-term effects of what COVID does to anyone, let alone an athlete. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, 100%. But I would have taken him off at halftime tonight to answer Strimmer John's question.
Yeah, I'll extend it to include Remedi in the conversation. I thought the two of them were maybe the weak point for the team tonight. And with the competition that you're going to have in those spots, because I could easily see this team going out and getting a defensive midfielder for next year. Mo Adams was not part of the mix tonight. Mo Adams was maybe your best player in the last month of the season. Marcelino Moreno will start. Mateus Josetu was good. I would lean to very good. I'll take some of the arguments the other way, and I'll go good in the second half of the season. Who plays out of Josetu, Heineman, Remedi? I don't know. They're all under contract for next year. They're going to be here unless they are traded or sold between now and the start of the season. They can't all play because Moreno's playing, and if you go get a 6, they're probably playing, and then that means one of the other ones. Right. Or one of them wins the role as the 6. And I don't know if Remedi and Heineman did enough to change their standing after this.
Yeah, I think Remedi's future is very, very cloudy. He was a necessity starter tonight because Jeff is gone. And
started well, and in the possession, he just had some of those just classic giveaways that you can't have, and especially with where this team is going to go play style-wise, it's even more you can't have them because you're constantly exposed.
Yeah, and I also wonder how much of that may have had to do with him playing on a hard yellow. I don't know if that got into his head mentally, and it just affected things. But I think Remedi's future is very, very cloudy. I mean, he was essentially dropped after the Chicago match in late September. He had a shocker that night. Had to basically make the start tonight because we were out of options at the 6. Jeff is gone. Mo Adams unavailable. if the Almendra rumors are true, then you really wonder what Eric Remedi's future is going to be with this club.
Yeah.
And look, Eric Remedi has done terrific things for this club for 3 years. He saved their bacon in 2018 when Nagby got hurt. For Remedi to come in from Bonfield and right away contribute at the level he did in 2018 was hugely important for Atlanta United to win the Cup. And Remedi had some good play in 2019. I thought Remedi, in general, declined this year. Yeah. And Carlos has got a tough decision now to make on him. It's a very, very cloudy future. I don't know if he necessarily did anything to help himself tonight. And he was one of the players that I think we were looking at as, hey, this is a big spot for you tonight. This is a potential audition match. Your new manager may have been identified now. He's watching. He's got the scouting report. He's being told what he needs to know by members of the technical staff and front office. This is an important match for you, and I don't necessarily know if Remedi did anything to help himself tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. Transfermarkt has his contract up mid-season in 2021. He did come in mid-season in 18, so that would make sense. A 3-year deal. If that's the case, he could sign a pre-contract in January and pick his next club. And if that happens, maybe they work out a deal and he goes at that time. It's a tough one because, I don't think he did enough today to change it. I think Hosetsu gives you more range. I think he gives you much more range on his passing. And I think you're going to go into the market. We don't know if the Agustin Almendra rumors are true. There really was nothing else on it today. He's supposed to be, I think, appearing at Barcelona or at Boca's, training camp tomorrow to do medicals, do COVID tests, and rejoin training if all that goes well on Friday. And it depends on who you're reading because there are some in Argentina talking about the potential rumors of him going. He almost went to Miami in February to the point that Jorge Mas said he's coming, basically. The day everything shut down, he was linked with a move to the LA Galaxy out of the Argentine media. His value is plummeted because he's had a falling out with the current manager of Boca Juniors. He hasn't played for him at all. It's a really odd situation. Very talented young player. He's 20, so, bouncing back from not playing is absolutely possible. But he would be the kind of holding midfielder that has previously played in Gabriel Heinze's teams. He is along those lines of a Gaston Jimenez, a Fernando Gago.
I also think that Fernando Meza is going to be in that discussion.
Could be.
Next. And by the way, you talk about guys who played a super match tonight.
Yeah.
I thought Fernando Meza was, and that's exactly why you have a guy like Meza, a guy with that Liga MX experience, a guy who has played against Club America before. But I think what stood out to me tonight about Meza, when we talk about Atlanta United really being on the front foot, playing positive soccer, attack, more often than not, especially in the first half, we were seeing Meza really get involved in the buildup. Meza in the final third, taking responsible risks and keeping those attacks going. Which is not necessarily a dimension that I feel like we saw of his game much during the regular season. He was battling injuries, too. It could have been one of those deals where this was the first time where Meza truly felt healthy, getting that extra couple weeks of recovery time. But I think Meza, I really hope, it sounds like Atlanta United still got him under contract for the coming year. I really hope that they can find a way to keep him on the pitch. I think you're looking at a pretty decent possibility of your first choice center backs next year being Robinson and Escobar. So how do you keep Meza in the mix? I think potentially as Heinze is going to call it the 5. I think potentially as a Heinze 5, I could see that working out.
Yeah, we might have to do some Argentine position 101 or something here to talk about the 5 instead of the 6 and the doble cinco and the volante, and we'll get into all this stuff. We might have some fun with that. I want to get your take on this because it's something that I go back and forth with at times. Badgermon says, as much as I want MLS to succeed, I just can't root for LAFC. He's a Wisconsin guy. He says that would be like me rooting for Michigan. Just can't bring myself to do it. LAFC is trailing 1-0. It was a horrendous penalty call from what I saw that was given to Cruz Azul. LAFC had hit the crossbar before that. I think I said it on SDH today. In general, I want the league to do well in these competitions, but there are a few teams that I'm really not looking forward to them doing well. LAFC is kind of in that conversation for me. Orlando absolutely would be. Red Bulls would be. Miami is, and I don't know why Miami has jumped there so fast. And LAFC is pretty close.
Well, I think the reason why I would agree with you is because I know how the media would react to it.
That might be it.
They are the darlings. And look, they had a great year last year, so whatever. They probably deserve some of that. I think MLS has proven in the last 3 or 4 cycles of this now that they're getting close.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there yet. They haven't closed that gap yet. There are numerous reasons why. The wage bill disparity between the top clubs in Liga MX and any club in MLS, I think you start right there. Heck, you're playing Monterrey last year and Pizarro's coming off the bench for them. You don't have teams in MLS that can match up 1 through 11, 1 through 23 like that. But I think MLS is closing the gap. And look, America won the tie 3-1, but Atlanta United beat Club America in a 90-minute match tonight. Okay, that is an MLS win in a competition over Liga MX. And I've seen some people on Twitter say that's not it.
It is, though.
That's it. Anywhere in the world, that is a win. Okay?
It's a win in a match.
When Atlanta United beat New York Red Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago, they lost the second leg 1-0. They did not win. It was a loss.
Yep.
Okay? That's how it works. So you are seeing now, and I think Atlanta United has been a big part of this discussion. You're seeing MLS start to make inroads in these head-to-head matchups against Liga MX. What Toronto did in 2018, nearly winning the whole thing, that big comeback, getting the final into penalties, that's a big part of the narrative too. The Campeones Cup, win by Atlanta United over Club America, again, just proof that it's getting closer.
Do you want me to give you some more proof?
Please.
The Mexican media, not happy at all. ESPN translated in Mexico. Users on social networks ask for the departure of Miguel Herrera and Roger Martinez. The Fuera Piejo hashtag started trending again. That was trending early in the season when they were struggling a bit. They bounced back. They finished third. They had a good season. This is the histrionics that happen in Mexican media, especially with Club America.
But Jason, let me just interject.
Yeah.
When was Club America's last match?
Almost 3 weeks ago.
Almost 3 weeks ago. Atlanta United's last match was almost 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
Atlanta United was way sharper than Club America today.
Yeah. I thought the one that for Club America, that's really tricky. It's even trickier for me because guys couldn't leave. They couldn't go on vacation. Atlanta guys could. They could. Guys went home. They were able to come back. They can get recharged and then come in and train for 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know how Herrera handles that because you can't have him train for 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks ahead of that game because you need to give them a break. But how long of a break can you actually give them and not have any rhythm? And you got a 3-0 lead, so you're not going to have your foot down on the gas the whole time. It's a tricky one. Roger Martinez was poor. I don't have a problem with anything from Herrera in the game if I'm a Club America fan, but Roger Martinez was poor. They've already said he's leaving, though.
Right.
So it's what's his motivation? We talked about it. I wondered if he would be either really jacked up to try to show his next potential team, hey, you can still count on me, or he'd be kind of lackluster and just there, and that's what he was. He wasn't very good.
Right.
But yeah, people are freaking out in Mexico about this game because they don't like losing to MLS teams.
No, and they certainly don't like getting outplayed by MLS teams.
Mm-mm.
Even if this had ended in a scoreless draw tonight, which it nearly did, Club America got outplayed by Atlanta United. Atlanta United was absolutely the better side in this match tonight.
Yep.
Find me someone who would say otherwise. I would love to debate them. So, look, you have very, very knowledgeable fans down there, and their eyes don't lie. And I hate using the eye test, but I'm going to use it here. The eye test does not lie tonight. Atlanta United was much better than Club America. And I think also, Jason, part of what's framing that reaction in Mexico is, look, they're knowledgeable. They know Atlanta United was 20th in their league this year.
That's come up.
And that they were playing without clearly their best player, Joseph Martinez. And they know who that Jurgen Damm guy is down there. They know he wasn't playing tonight. And they know who Pity Martinez is. They definitely know who he is, and they know he's not here anymore. So they're probably looking at it as, not only did you lose to an MLS side, but you lost to a struggling MLS side that didn't play full first choice tonight because they couldn't, because of injuries. And that's probably part of the reaction, too. But they get it. They're knowledgeable down there.
I'll share one of their analysts, Mark Crosas, who said, El America, el más grande, has just lost to team 23 of 26 in the last MLS. That's,
Yeah, I mean, it's true, and America's lost 2 of 3 to this club.
That's also true. Stephen Glass, I want to talk a little bit about him before we finish up with some questions. I think the job that he did early on, it was a lot of just getting things back under control. And I thought where we started to see his impact on the team was the Dallas match. And from there on, you saw, I think, a more competitive team, but also a team that had the right foundation. And when we look back at this, in my opinion, that's his contribution, is he rebuilt the foundation of what this team is and what they should be, the way they should play. Got into the 4-3-3, which that's what Heinze prefers. Got into a team that wanted to control games in different ways, sometimes more aggressive, like that Dallas game, very aggressive with pressing up high, other times with possession, other times on the counter, but got back to basics and stuff that had gotten out of whack for whatever reason under Frank de Boer. There's something that Frank said a couple of times that has really stuck with me the more I've thought about it, the more I've looked at Heinze and what he brings to the table. Frank mentioned at least once or twice in press conferences, and it came up again in his interview with Felipe Cardenas of The Athletic after he had left. He wanted the players to figure things out for themselves. He wanted them to learn, and I think he was looking for more like kind of guided discovery from what he was doing, but he wanted them to have the aha moment, like, I get it, I understand. When this happens in the game, I need to do this. This is my adjustment. This is how I change things in the game. It never happened. And that can be on him, that can be on the players, that could probably be somewhere in between, which is where it usually is in these situations. That's not going to be the case under Stephen Glass. It wasn't the case with Atlanta United 2. It was this is how we play, this is what we do, this is what I expect of you, this is your role. That is going to be the same under Gabriel Heinze. And I think what Glass did is he got back to that. He got back to, this is your direction. This is what you do. This is our base. This is how we play. This is what you can do in the way we play. And it makes it so much easier for the new manager. He cleared the decks. And they needed to be. For who knows, again, what all the reasons are. There were issues in Orlando that have been hinted at. Obviously, it wasn't just 3 games that ended up seeing a parting of the ways. There was something else going on. You needed somebody to do what Stephen Glass did. And he's got the team in a far better place than it was when he took over. And he's going to help that next person be so much more successful than they would have been if they had walked in July.
I just have a short add-on to that, very short. Tonight was Stephen Glass's finest hour as a head coach.
Yep.
Simple as that. It's his finest hour. You beat Club America. Again, maybe he was a tad late on the trigger with some subs, but I get it because he felt like his team had control of the match. But tonight was Stephen Glass's finest hour as a head coach. He outdueled Miguel Herrera, and he led Atlanta United to a win over Club America. I think the world of Glassy, and the club is lucky to have him and to have him back with the twos next year. But what he did tonight, it goes right to the very top of his managerial resume.
Well, I mean, even the goal, that's got a lot of Stephen Glass in it, because that goal, Stephen was involved with those players at the U17s before he took over with Atlanta United 2. He had a huge hand in George Bello's development. He got George Bello ready for the U17 World Cup last year, coming back from injury. Jackson Conway, all last year, developed a ton, so much under Stephen Glass, and he gets that payoff. I'll tell you, I'll break the fourth wall for a second. After that goal, I texted Tony Annan, and I said, I hope you're smiling from ear to ear, because that goal has to make you really proud, and I'm really happy for these kids. He sent back 3 smiling emojis. So that has to be how Glassy's feeling too, because those are the tangible results of what those two guys have done so much off the field, behind the scenes, what you haven't seen, if you haven't paid attention to the twos, if you haven't watched the academy. That's it. And now you're back to where I think you need to be going into a season. You look at this roster, it looks good. You look at this performance tonight, lots of things to build on, and there's a lot of excitement, and there could be a couple of exciting players coming, because you got 2 senior roster spots, and you got 2 international slots, and it seems like you got some money to spend.
Yeah, time to go shopping.
Yeah.
I'm done with my Christmas shopping. Darren and Carlos can get started now.
Well, they might have a Christmas present for everybody in the form of a new manager, and we'll see when that happens. Darren says by the end of the year. It's not a hard and fast deadline. With Frank, I think it was February 20 or December 28th, if I remember right. I think it's going to be a very bright holiday season. I'm looking forward to what this could look like for Atlanta United. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. And I think there's going to be a lot of positivity going forward.
Yeah, and this helps. This really does set a positive tone, doesn't it? I mean, again, like I said at the very beginning, this is about as close to best case as you could have gotten tonight. You beat Club America. You got a goal from Jackson Conway. Gurr got in and played. Lopez played a lot and played well. We're checking all the boxes here. You got a clean sheet. You had 14 total shots in this tie on target. And I don't think that counts the 3 hit posts down at the Azteca, right? A hit post is not a shot on target, right?
No.
So, I mean, my goodness. It in a way, it's almost remarkable that you only got 1 goal out of it. But you can walk out of this with your heads held very, very high. And it does really change, I think, the feel for fans of this club going into 2021 now. If you went out there tonight, got embarrassed, got smoked, you would really begin to wonder, is the direction of travel a positive one? I think now we know the direction of travel is, in fact, a positive one.
Yeah. We'll finish with Arch Bell's tweet. Arch covers the Latin game really, really well. Caught a few minutes with Atlanta United's Jackson Conway after he scored in his debut against Club America. Quote, I got so many calls and messages that my phone crashed. I still need to call my mom.
Well, hey,
that's
glad
awesome.
he kept his shirt on.
Yes. You could have taken a yellow for that. That would have been fine.
Yeah. I don't know if they're flying back tonight or tomorrow. I'm assuming they're flying back tomorrow. It would be kind of bad karma to check out of your hotel and go to the stadium when you could have kept going in the tournament. So I guess they'll come home tomorrow. What an incredible couple weeks for Jackson Conway. He has his 19th birthday, signs his homegrown deal, gets to go through this training camp with the first team, gets into the game tonight and scores. And now he's the fourth Atlanta United player to score in their club debut, joining Emil Assad, George Bello, and Peterson, right? I think we confirmed
Jacob
that,
Peterson,
right?
yeah, against Minnesota.
So there you go. It's so much awesomeness for Jackson Conway, but you're right. Also for Tony Annan, for Stephen Glass. And I love the fact that Bello got the assist, because I think these guys have been playing together since age 12. It's just such a neat moment. And I know you're not advancing, but in a way that might be a blessing in disguise too. It buys you that little more rest. It's all eyes on 2021 now, and this is a really, really good start.
Absolutely. We're going to have plenty of coverage in the offseason now that is 100% the offseason. Free agency's open. There will be a manager hired at some point. When that happens, we will have a special stoppage time, whatever day it is, and we'll get into all of it. We'll answer all the questions. SDH will go on as always, and stoppage time on Wednesdays, and who knows what else will happen. Could be some interesting rumors continuing to flow. Now that we're getting big-name Argentine players linked to Atlanta United, feels like an off-season tradition.
Yeah, but again, the tone's a lot more positive now, and I'm really, really excited about the next couple days and weeks. And I'll just end on this, and I'm sure if you're watching us, you are an Atlanta United fan. You should be really, really proud of this club tonight. It's not been a good year, and there have been a lot of moments that have not been very pleasant to go through. This team showed a lot of pride in itself and a lot of professionalism tonight to go out in a really awkward situation, play as well as they did, and get the win. So you should be very, very proud of this club and this team.
Totally agree. That's going to do it for tonight. We'll be back in the morning for Overreaction Thursday. We'll get John Nelson's thoughts on that. I think Jarrett Smith's actually going to chime in the morning. Craziness. But we'll have all that tomorrow morning, and Mike will be back with us on Friday, and we'll have stoppage time next week. And that's about it, unless we hire a manager anytime soon, and maybe that could happen anytime soon. And we'll be back. It's one of those kinds of days. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening to Mike and I all season long. We don't get to do this stuff if you guys don't listen, and y'all have been great to us throughout. So thank you for that. Have a happy holidays, and we'll see you soon.